to the Redskins Offseason Preview Update Show, presented by Bud Light Seltzer. I'm Larry Michael, and coming up next week, we'll be on the practice fields, those unused practice fields during this virtual offseason for the Redskins of the National Football League. And joining us is Big Pro. He's a member of the Ring of Fame, and he's one of the 80 greatest Redskins, my good friend Chris Samuels. Chris, can you imagine a virtual offseason in the NFL? What do you think about this?
It's crazy because, everybody learns differently. Some guys learn better in the classroom, actually up under the coach, same way students may be in college. They learn better in the classroom. And then some people learn well online. So for the guys that, learn well from being in the classroom, it's kind of a, downside for them because, they're not getting exactly what they need as far as their learning process. And then other guys might catch stuff faster from a virtual classroom and so on.
We know that chemistry is so important on the offensive line, and for an offense, how do you build chemistry virtually? We don't know when these guys are going to be back. We're thinking maybe in a couple of weeks. We don't know. Maybe it's training camp. This team finally gets together. We're going to have to wait and see. But chemistry is so important. How do you think they can build chemistry?
I really don't know. That's a big challenge, I think. Definitely the guys need to hang out with each other. Study together. They need to, hang out in the little lounge area together. That's how you build your chemistry. So now the guys are separated and everybody's in their own home and you're doing it, over the internet with virtual reality type stuff. It's difficult. It's a big challenge, and I really don't have the answer to that.
Redskins have a first-year head coach in Ron Rivera, a first-year offensive coordinator in Scott Turner. How challenging do you think it's going to be for them to get all their installations in this virtual world?
It's really going to be hard because it's their first year, like you said. Other organizations, where the coaches have been there for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, the guys are pretty much going to pick up on it fast. They remember what they ran last year. The only difference is, you have new guys that's being added to those teams where they're going to have to get caught up to speed. The Redskins, I do have confidence in the new head coach. I think he's a great coach. I thought he did a great job in Carolina. But it's going to be difficult. You got a new regime in there, and now they're trying to get this stuff implemented in, and the guys are not there to practice it, so it's definitely going to be difficult.
I want to get your reactions to some sound bites from offensive coordinator Scott Turner. First up, he has watched a lot of tape of Dwayne Haskins Jr. In fact, Dwayne Haskins Jr. was victorious at Carolina last year when Scott Turner was on Ron Rivera's staff. So here is Scott Turner on the confidence he's seeing growing in Dwayne Haskins Jr.
A lot of playing in this league is just confidence. Obviously you got to have the skill set, which I think we all believe that Dwayne does. And then, it takes a while for guys to, not everyone, but to truly believe, hey, I can do this. I can play in this league. And it's highly competitive and it humbles everyone. So I think just that adjustment period with Dwayne, working his way into that. And I think that what he did that last month of the season is he allowed himself to truly believe, hey, I can go out and do this, and watching him, like I said, spending the time with him, getting to know him as I have over these past couple months, you want to build on those things. And then kind of with the other positions, you want to look at the things that Dwayne does well and then have him do those things, and then that builds confidence within itself. And then as you do that, you can expand on what you're doing offensively and what you would ask him to do.
Chris Samuels, for a young quarterback, building confidence is important. And you've seen a lot of quarterbacks in your day whose confidence was busted because of a year or two. What are your thoughts on Dwayne Haskins going into year two?
I think he has a lot of upside. I thought he did a good job last year dealing with, a team that was kind of on the rebound, trying to build themselves back up. But I watched him in college. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. He's done some good things. I think he's smart. He's intelligent, has some athletic ability to escape the pocket if need be, but definitely has a strong arm. And I think that this year coming into his second season, I think he's going to do a fine job. I just think we have to get the right pieces around him, and everybody has to buy in.
All right, number 2 is Scott Turner. He's got a full running backs room, which includes Adrian Peterson, by the way. Turner feels good about the versatility of his running backs.
Adrian, I got a ton of respect for Adrian, and I spent 3 years with him in Minnesota. In 2015, he led the league in rushing, and I wasn't calling the plays. I was a quarterback coach, but whatever. That's the offense. That's the offense that we're going to run to an extent, and it always changes with your personnel. But with Adrian and his skill set when he's rolling, he's gonna. There's a role for that type of back. I understand what you're saying with the pass game stuff, and but he's capable of catching check downs and those types of things, and he's great when you have him in there for play action passes when you're trying to throw the ball down the field. So I'm not concerned with that, and I think you look at it. We'll evaluate all of our players, and we'll try to. That's the beauty of offensive football is like you get to ask the players to do what you want to do. So if someone's not good at something, regardless of who it is, they don't have to do it. With the exception of offensive linemen, they gotta block regardless. So, but as far as the skill players, you can ask them to do the things that they're good at.
Chris, we know we got an Adrian Peterson, but some of these other backs are obviously going to need to prove themselves. I guess competition is going to be key in the running back department.
Competition is huge. Even when I played left tackle, I never shied away from competition. I think competition only brings out the best in you. So we definitely have a stable of backs. Adrian Peterson being the veteran guy. I'm excited about Geis. Hopefully he can get over the injury bug. So I think it's going to only bring out the best in those guys, and they're going to go out there and compete, and the best man wins the job. But you know how it is. A guy could go down, the next man up. And also, too, one guy can't carry the load. So you definitely got to have, a few guys back there to help carry the running game.
Final cut with Scott Turner, offensive coordinator for the Redskins. And, they've got some weapons around Dwayne Haskins Jr., and some of them are very versatile. And Scott Turner says versatility equals unpredictability.
Not to give up, too much, but I think, you want to be as unpredictable as possible, and you don't want the defense to know what you're going to do. And I think, obviously you do that with balance and everything like that, but balance is not just run and pass. It's, getting all five. You have 5 eligible receivers on every play, and getting all 5 of those guys. That to me is what true balance is using all 5 of those, whether it's in the run game or the pass game. And so guys that are able to do different things, it gives you more options, of how you can use them and more things that the defense has to defend. So that's where that's so important. That's why versatility is so important, is because it's uncertainty, for the other side of the ball.
Chris Samuels, versatility is good, weapons are good, but you need an offensive line. An offensive line in the trenches is the basis of your offense to help that quarterback. And the Redskins left tackle position, it was pretty stable. You had Chris Samuels, then you had Trent Williams. There really hasn't been a need for anybody else. You got a draft pick out of LSU and Sadiq Charles. You got Jaron Christian, a third-year man. You got competition on the offensive line. How important is the chemistry for your unit, the O-line?
It's definitely important. I don't care who you have. You can have Tom Brady at quarterback. You can have Jared Rice at wide receiver. If you can't protect the quarterback and you can't open up holes for the running backs, you're going nowhere. So, I'm not focused on the weapons around, as far as the skill guys. Definitely focus on the offensive line. Those guys have to be in sync. You're only as good as your weakest link. They have to play as one heartbeat, one sound. If they do a great job up front, everything else is going to fall in line.
All right, as we go to break on this off-season update preview edition presented by Bud Light Seltzer, a look at the Redskins' offensive line. Back with more with Chris Samuels after a quick timeout. The off-season update preview show is brought to you by Acronis. Our official cyber protection partner, Acronis, is keeping us #CyberFit and protecting our data, applications, and systems. Acronis keeps us in play on and off the field all season long. And the off-season update preview show is presented by Bud Light. Bud Light Seltzer, now available for delivery. I'll tell you what, it's refreshing, it's delicious, and it is from Budweiser. Bud Light Seltzer. Order it right to your door. All right, we are back. Off-season preview update show presented by Bud Light Seltzer. Larry Michael, joined by Redskin great Chris Samuels. And Chris, before we get down to business, back to business, I should say, what have you been doing over the last couple of years? Obviously, I know you've been coaching, and you've become a pretty good coach.
Yeah, I was blessed to learn from a lot of good coaches. I felt like Kyle Shanahan definitely had a big influence on me. Also, Sean McVay, when those guys were with the Redskins, I did the minority internship. And it was only supposed to be for the off season, as far as training camp, rather. And Coach Shanahan was good enough, and Mr. Snyder was good enough to let me stay the whole season. And I learned a lot. Not only did I learn offensive line play, how to coach it, I would go into the quarterback meeting rooms. I would ask questions to Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Keenan McCarter, all of those guys. And they really taught me the West Coast system, the outside zone, the nakeds and stuff like that. And I remember before I left and went to coach high school ball down in Alabama, Rex Grossman told me, he said, this stuff is complicated. I don't think high school kids can get it. And I said, well, this is the only thing I know I got to try, So went down to Alabama, had a really successful season, made it to the second round of the playoffs. And this past season, we actually made it to the state championship. And Mario Cristobal with the Oregon Ducks, and the head coach there, he is recruiting one of our guys. And he said, man, your offense is like that. You guys are really good. You're running some really good stuff. I said, it's NFL stuff, the route combinations, the zone, the nakeds and stuff like that. So like I said, we had a really good season. We got some great players, great coaches. We lost the state championship, but it was my first year at the school, so we did a really good job.
Name of the school once again?
Northwest High School in Germantown, Maryland.
Montgomery County.
Yep, that's
Montgomery
right.
County, just up the road from your residence.
That's right.
So,
it's only about 20 minutes away. Yep.
So back to the 2020 Redskins, and again, you're talking about an offense that is going to be new in scheme. You've got an offensive line that has some new pieces. You do have Morgan Moses and Brandon Sheriff on the right side of the line. Those guys have been around several years. What does it mean to that rest of that offensive line to know that the right side, even with the new scheme, these guys have seen just about everything there is to see in the league?
I think it's huge. You definitely got to have those veteran guys. You got to have a great mix between the young and the old. And, those guys, I've been watching them for a while. The right side is solid when they're healthy. So if they can continue to stay healthy and lead the rest of the guys, I think the whole offensive line will fall in sync.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for a team like this? It's a very young team. This is the youngest Redskin team I can recall, and I've been around since your first year being part of this organization. I don't think we've seen this young a Redskin team in that many years. What are some of the challenges of a young team?
I think the major thing is just gelling, figuring out each other, understanding each other, knowing your strengths and weaknesses. So once those guys gel and they, they'll come around. It's going to be hard too because, like you said, you got this whole thing going on with the pandemic, so it's hard to gel. So they have to be patient, I think, and I think the coaching staff has to be patient, and also the fans have to be patient. It's not going to turn around overnight. We know that we've been going through some tough times, but I am confident in the moves that Mr. Snyder made with the new head coach. I'm confident in the head coach, and I love the organization. I love the players. Just give them some time. Let's be patient.
We're going to hear from some of the players in a second, but you mentioned Ron Rivera and you like him. What do you like about Coach Rivera?
Well, first of all, he played the game, so he definitely understands both sides from a coaching aspect and also a player aspect. And he's a dominant force. He's a guy that's going to impose his will, and he's a tough-minded guy. So I think that's going to help and go a long way.
All right, time to hear from some of the Redskins players. The spotlight on the players. The spotlight brought to you by Acronis. Dwayne Haskins, how you been, man? You're doing everything virtually, including this meet and greet, aren't you?
Yeah, Larry. Everything virtual right now. I should be wearing a mask right now too.
Well, I guess if you're at home, you're okay. But you know what? How's your Wi-Fi held up, man? Because it's been all about your Wi-Fi and your broadband, isn't it?
It's been up. Bill's going up for sure.
Oh, wow. Hey, how have the meetings gone? I mean, and it's remarkable how much I guess we've all learned. If you had asked Dwayne Haskins 4 months ago what was Zoom, it might have been a play call. But
yeah, motion actually.
Yeah. So how different, how tough, how has this process been? How have you interacted with your coaches and your teammates? How's it going?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, but I feel like it's been successful so far, being able to have team meetings through Zoom, being able to have quarterback, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach meetings, and then, of course, still being able to throw with some of our receivers on the field. So even though we're not in the classroom, even though we're not on the field and the facility, we're still getting work done, and that's the best thing about it right now.
Your keeper, Dwayne Haskins Jr., coming off what I thought was a very strong finish to last year. No, the team didn't win a lot of games, and a lot goes into an NFL season, but I saw Dwayne improve each and every game. Showed a lot of progress, showed a lot of talent, showed a lot of intelligence and ability. But what is your biggest challenge here in year two?
Biggest challenge going into year two is just being as consistent as I can be the way I finished the last 2 games of the season, bringing that anticipation, the ability to lead the team down the field every game, game in and game out. And that's something I want to continue to build going into next year.
So, I know you met Coach Ron Rivera. His nickname is Riverboat Ron. So maybe you get a few more 4th down attempts this year.
Hey, man, I'll take a couple quarterback sneaks or some options or something. I know you like to run cam a little bit, but I might go 15, 10 carries a game, not 25.
No, hey, you know what? Let's just touchdown passes, fire it, drive it deep down the field. That's what we love to see out of the strong arm. And a strong DMV connection here this year with the Redskins. So how well do you know these guys? I know you know Chase very well, but there's a lot of other guys from the local area, surprisingly, and I'm from Silver Spring, so everybody, I'm just very proud of our local players.
Yeah, man, it's funny actually because I remember looking for a high school in the DMV area, and I went to the Good Counsel the Matha game back when Kendall Fuller and Dorian O'Daniel played for Good Counsel. So like watching them in high school, like these guys are so talented. This is the area to be as far as competing against these type of players and having them, seeing Ronald Darby at FSU. Sean Davis was playing at Maryland. I used to go to the Maryland games, and having known these guys and, being able to have those ties to this area makes the pride and the sense of, representing where you're from that much more.
And Chris, before we wrap up this edition of the Offseason Update Preview Show presented by Bud Light Seltzer, you've been away from this organization for a while, but you know what it takes to win in the National Football League. And I know Coach Gibbs meant a lot to you. And I know you talk very highly of Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera has a staff. A lot of them coached for him in Carolina. I view that as an advantage because they know what he's expecting. And these coaches, just like the players, haven't been here at Redskin Park. So, and you had Buggs in the day, you had a bunch of coaches. So it's not just the head coach. And this is a staff that's been together a long time. What are your thoughts on a staff like that?
I think it's great. It's not like he had to come in and assemble a whole bunch of different pieces as far as, coaches from different places. He pretty much had most of his guys intact, so they know what they want to do. They know what they want to accomplish. They pretty much know the itinerary, the layout, the plan. So that's going to go a long way. All they need now is guys to step up in a leadership role and go out and play ball.
Chris, appreciate you being part of this show. We look forward to you joining us throughout the season. You're a special guy to the organization, a good friend of ours, and thanks again.
Thank you so much, man, for having me.
All right, for Chris Samuels, I'm Larry Michael. We'll check in next week. The off-season preview show coming up, presented by Bud Light Seltzer. We'll talk to you then.